Okay, well, first of all, I'm a very, very beginner. I'm starting from scratch. If I was to show this to my mother, she would say, "Oh, that's excellent." She was like, "Oh my God, that's excellent." But what I've gained from the experience, what has helped me, is the way Kid is as a teacher. I want to take that and apply that to my students. And what I mean is, I teach math and science, first of all, and sometimes you get, or a lot of times you get students who are very nervous and they're very apprehensive and they have a lot of fear. And what blocks them many times is the fear. And that's how I am or have been with art. And what I appreciated the most about Kit was she was very patient. Some stuff I would just do on my own. She said, "Do you see that yellow right there? Do you?" And so it's helped me really to pay attention to detail when you see things, and just to be able to apply that to the rest of my life. So Kit, I'd just like to thank you as a student, and I'm really appreciative of this experience.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're taking painting as a minor. It is the second year I've ever painted in my life, second time. So I did it last summer for 2 weeks, and I never picked up a brush again, and I did it again this summer. For me, it's a really, really new experience, and I think that when I came in last year, I was terrified and didn't know if I'd do anything, and I was so happy that I was able to create things that looked like the food I was creating. And I actually took the lessons, it's very similar to what Dwight said, back to my classroom. I teach creative writing, and I had some kids who were very fearful in my creative writing one class, and I brought my pictures in one day and showed them and talked about my experience, and I think it really helped to model what it's like to be a beginner at something. An experienced teacher should always have. And coming back this year, I was a little nervous that, would I be able to do anything again? And it's just so amazing. Once I started, I remembered certain things, and can see. I don't know if I can see the purity in my work, although somebody, Gail said that. But I'm still on food. But I was able to definitely apply things. I understood that there had to be shadows, and I don't think I knew that last year. And so that was really cool. And I definitely want to do more of it. It was just wonderful, and Kit was a wonderful teacher. Thank you, thank you.
My name is Grace Warrington. I came in as a student, and I was a little apprehensive at first. I didn't know what I would find. I knew I was taking oil painting for the first time. But the environment was wonderful. Everyone's really nice, and other students are so helpful. And that really helped me, I think, just go for it. A lot of, at home I do watercolors, and it's very, very detailed and exact in lines. And instead I kind of went in the opposite direction with my paintings. I discovered the palette knife instead of a brush, and it gave me the freedom to be a little bit messy and just very slap it on there. It was really fun, I have to admit. I wasn't so worried about, I don't know, being so exact. I just went with what I felt like, and that was really great for me.
Thank you. This is my third year at aTi. I always take the same things. I take oil painting as major and playwriting as minor, and it was extremely intense this year for some reason. I really don't know why. I guess because I had higher expectations of myself, and by the time I would get to the minor, I was just Dominique. Just passed out. Painting was very challenging this year. I also learned of the palette knife. As you can see, the blades of grass. And usually I paint from my own photography, and these are no different. All 4 of these paintings represent a photograph that I had taken, which were pretty nice photographs. And then that had been sort of the way I had always operated. I would take something I had already had some creative input on and then try to reproduce it. And what I realized starting last year was that I couldn't reproduce it. The photograph was very specific and really nice the way it was, and yet when I went to do it, it was a disaster. And so what started happening was I realized it became something else. And as I started to paint it, to put the on the canvas, the painting started to take over. The painting had a, I don't want to say a mind of its own, but it had an essence of its own. And once I was able to get into it, once I was able to let the painting do what it needed to do, then I felt much more successful. But most of the time through the paintings, it was like, you know, cleaning the gravy pot, you know, where it's just, you change one thing and then you realize the painting is off balance. Then you have to go back and change it again. The colors you start out with, they just disappear by the time you're finished. It always blends and turns into something else. So it becomes a real, I don't know, a real work of the heart. You really have to stay with it even when it looks really gross and ugly to you. So that's fun.
And I really had a great time last year, and I couldn't wait to come back and do it again. And it was also a kind of welcome relief for me because just prior to ATI, I bought a house, moved in, got married, went on a honeymoon, and ended school all in the same month. So it's really just looking forward to coming and doing something meditative and getting back into what I like to do. And painting has become a hobby of mine. I do it a lot at home. And I've been painting seriously for maybe 3 or 4 years. I took some courses in the city when I was living there. And I'm not an artist by trade or anything. I'm an English teacher and creative writing teacher and a long-time writer of poetry. But painting is my new thing. I really enjoy it. The two that I did first were the boat scenes. Coming back from my honeymoon in Nova Scotia, I still wanted to kind of be there. And I've always liked boat paintings, and I like trying to do reflection in water. So I worked on this one first. And Kit likes to take me out of my comfort zone, which is a good thing because I tend to go there. I've had people tell me that my smaller paintings are better than my bigger ones, so of course I want to work with the 11 by 14 or 12 by 16. Kit gave me this one next and said, I bought this size especially for you. Get your big brushes ready. And that was a lot of fun because it's really neat to use a big brush and just kind of like slap on big coats of paint. So I got some practice with that. The rocks were challenging. I had never done rocks before. And I kind of like just the free brush strokes in that painting. And then I got tired of boats, and another favorite subject of mine is old guys playing games. Last summer I did a painting of these domino players, and that was the second domino players painting I did. So when I saw this image in the New York Times Sunday magazine, I thought, oh, I'm going to do this. I love the beer belly. Kind of reminds me of Tony Soprano. And I like to do figures. So this was my last painting. And I don't know that it's done yet. I'll probably go back in and work on a few other things with it. But Kit gave me some really good ideas about just trying to imitate some of the shapes that are in the wrinkles down to the playing surface on the table. And that's what I did. So I don't know. I feel like I'm an intermediate painter, and I can't wait to try ATI again and have some more experience.
This is my first experience at ATI, and it's been lovely, stunning, and really thrilling. I've enjoyed coming here every single day. And I'm going to speak about my subject matter. I have worked as an artist my whole life. I recently got certified about 4 years ago to be an art educator. And I have never worked in oils. I've always been water-based. And for subject matter, this is my lovely home. And this is my lovely family. These are all cousins. They've grown up together, and this is my son. And what I wanted was the challenge of architecture. I came in and told Kit, I want to do a hopper. And I mean, this is not hopper whatsoever, but it was really great doing this painting because the awareness that I became involved in, and I have insight now. I want to do a series of house paintings. And I loved the way she encouraged me to tackle this. And, you know, it was just a whole lot of fun because I'm very familiar with this because it is my home. And doing it in oil, I think the only thing I had to keep reminding myself is not to lean into it. Which I did 10 million times all over these guys. And once again, being invested because it's a labor of love and you love, your subject. I really wanted to do a really good job. Plus my family's going to look at it and it's kind of like, they won't say, oh, it's lovely. They'll say, Pat, it sucks. It doesn't look like me. My son is my biggest critic, by the way. And that's why I'm having such a hard time laying him in, because he's just going to rip me. And this actually, as I showed up, the directions were horrible here. I was out of my board when I got here. I pulled something, she had photo, reference. I pulled something and I just knocked it out to get warmed up, right? And that's what it was. Well, I think that it's just, being around teachers, this is all new too. Oil painting's new, but just being, with teachers now is all new. It's a good experience. Thank you.
I enjoyed my experience. Kid's a great teacher, and I also minored in printmaking, if I may. Wonderful time. Basically, this is my time coming back to oil. I've always worked mixed media, a lot of acrylic, some watercolor, collage. So this is coming back. Whereas everyone was scrambling around, pulling out their photographs. The kid was like, okay, take out your photographs, we're getting ready to start our paintings. I had no photo. But I had this image in my head of this little kid just blowing this huge bubble. With bubble gum. So I came up with that, and I started working on that. And Kid just kept working with me to say, okay, let's make this bubble look a little more realistic and playing with lights and darks. And that the difference, I guess, working with a photograph from imagination. I do paint a lot with imagination, a lot of times without using actually just references. A lot of times I do both. But sometimes it's more challenging this way because I have to really guess and try to think, okay, where the lights are coming from, where the darks. Playing with a lot of skin tone. The kid really kept me to the challenge, and I appreciate it as far as different working with skin tones. Back in the past, I may have used either like burnt umber or raw sienna and just a little touch of white to make the skin tone. This time, strictly traditional, pulling out the cadmium red, going right to the cadmium orange. Mixing the permanent green, then a little touch of white, then a little touch of yellow ochre to create the flesh tones. And I did that for every shadow, and it was taking days and days, and that's why I only have 2 paintings here instead of 3. But I was like, well, I just want to just put my best in both of these that I could, and I really appreciated everything that you did. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're also mixed media, collagist, and printmaker, and stone sculpture.
Can you talk louder?
And being an abstract painter, I very often start with inventive, intuitive processes to get myself going, and also the materials are very important. And coming into this class with Kit's encouragement, after the first 2 starts, number 1 and number 2, I put those aside totally because I didn't feel as if they were really representative of what I do and the way I like to work. So this was the painting that I started in an intuitive process, and also adding collage elements, learning that I could mingle paper, in this case Asian papers, with the oil paint and with Dorland's wax, and it works because I've always done collage with acrylic paints and been able to work it hand in hand. But I find if anybody's interested and want to use collage, with oil paint, you can use Dorland's wax, and it's staying there. Hopefully it's going to stay there way past my time. But after I let go of this painting, and none of these are finished, by the way, but after I let this go, Kit strongly encouraged me to capitalize on some of my photography, which I do a great deal of. When I travel, I come up with 900 photographs, exploring a lot of villages and doors and windows. And by really seriously looking and observing at some of my photos, I was able to utilize some of the angles and these shapes and textures in a more, interesting way. And I found it significant when one of my friends here today walked in and just pointed to this painting and said, "This has the potential of being a very good painting. You know, you should really, because of the angles and the shapes, etc." So I found a bit of a new direction to continue in, and I will take this further, all of them actually. I'll add collage to this as well. So having the reference point is extremely helpful, but at some point, of course, I will let go of it and just make it my own. But it's a terrific starting point, and I commend and compliment Kit for her strong influence. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
So happy.